Hello, and welcome back to the second season of our show, Pod and Deliver. We miss you, everybody.
Yes, we did.
Jake, we are in the second season of our show, but it's also, I would look at it as the first season of teaching. If you think about post-COVID and
Right.
what's it like for you? Because it's different for me. I'm assuming it's different for you. What's it like in the classroom today?
There are a couple of differences. The kids are wearing masks, right? And you know what? They're pretty good about wearing them, and which is, that's the rule. Wear the mask. Uh, Maybe even better than the teachers. It's hard for me to hear them. I'm not sure about you, but it's hard when I ask them questions. That's a change than it was before. It's hard to. I'm not sure if I'm getting older, but I think it's a mask. They can hear me pretty well. I asked them, do you want me to get a mic? And they're like, no, you're fine. But I might have to eventually because my voice is going to go. But so the mask is the number one thing. And also, it seems like I'm having more trouble this year with phones than in the past. And I think it's because when they were, doing distant learning in the past, last year, they were probably had all their gadgets in front of them and, we couldn't always see them. So I think it's hard to get away from that. So mask, phones, different. Now teaching still there. I'm using still apps, and I'm using our school program that intakes all the kids' work. So I don't take any paper items anymore. It's all uploaded onto the server, which makes my life easier. So I'm paperless now. Which before before COVID, I was still receiving papers. I'm not sure about you. Maybe tell me about if any of that rings true to you, or how's teaching different for you?
Well, I relate to the masks. When you say that students are better with masks, what do you mean? Because in my experience right now, everybody's wearing masks, students and teachers.
They're better in wearing them. I see, I don't want to say I cheat, but sometimes I can't breathe. So I just, lift it up for a second. I don't see the kids doing that. They just keep them on. They don't, they're just really good at it. That's what I mean by that. I think they're really.
So you mean you don't wear your mask properly?
No, no, my boss not listening, right? No, I pretty much 99.5% of the time, Ruben. I'm pretty, company man. I'm a company man.
I love your response. Like, the students are good, but sometimes the teachers don't, or the staff. When I pressed you on it, it was like, well, I don't wear the mask right.
Right.
So you don't wear the mask right sometimes. But I gotta say, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Swinging hard already. Go ahead.
It's not easy to wear the mask all day. At first, it wasn't. I've gotten used to it. Yeah, It's not easy. That to me has been the hardest part of teaching is the mask, because you're trying to bring home a point. You're trying to bring humor, maybe. If you're funny, Jake, I don't know if you're funny, but some of us try to use humor in the classroom, and you lose it. You lose it if you're wearing the mask. So that's tough.
Yeah. But for some people, I guess masks are good if you're not very attractive. So
right. So the mask works for you.
Okay, then. Count for that one. All right. So how about the whole, you've been taking in work electronically for a couple of years, haven't you? Even before COVID, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, there's no change in the way I conduct class, because we've been doing applications, Google Draw, slides, digital documents to submit forever. For the last 5 years. So, but I will say that I actually, maybe we could do a whole episode on this, but I'm actually finding some good results from doing stuff in the physical sense. Composition books. I actually ordered composition books. Wow. The whole, the black and, those classic ones. because they're actually pretty helpful for students taking notes, and not just writing. The admin has encouraged us to encourage students to don't forget to write, to physically write, but that's been helpful. But also just the idea of taking notes. They have a composition book that's there, so
that's good. So you're doing both, really, both worlds. That's smart.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I like that part of it, that we could bring things back, and we could mix the two and things, but it's hard. The part that's hard for me, along with the mask, is that students will miss weeks at a time.
Yeah.
They will miss. I have a student who just got back from missing 2 weeks because she was gone on COVID-related issues, meaning either she had COVID or she was in contact with somebody who did.
Yeah, I've had that several times too, and you know what I do. I'm not sure if you do. I'm sure you do it. I don't want to speak for you, but I just give them more time. And I said, "Why? This is beyond your control." You know, I give them more time. You know, like last year we were a lot more generous to our students because of them being at home. I'm still being a little bit generous, not as maybe as much as last year, but I'm giving them more time to take care of things because of that. I've had several students who've had to leave the room. When I say several, probably about 10 to 15. And so with all my classes. And so because of that, I feel like, wow, I just have to be a little bit more lenient. So are you seem to be that way, or are you tough as nails, or what's going on there?
No, I'm never tough as nails. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore because I do, we'll do an episode on this season. Standards-based grading helps because you're not grading on points. Well, I'm not. I'm grading on standards. So
that would be a good episode. That's something to talk about. I mean, our new season, we're going to have some different guests, right? And different topics that we haven't had. So that'd be kind of cool.
We're going to have a couple of return guests, and that's going to be fun because we're going to have a return guest very soon, and I'm really happy about this one because I think it might be beneficial to go deep. Like we'll have a guest, and they'll mention something, and they'll keep going and talk, and we'll ask them other questions. But it's nice. The idea of going deep is pretty cool. Like we'll go deep on a topic, which I'm looking forward to. You know, I know you know this, of course, but I want to emphasize, we had several guests last season that were really strong, and it would be nice to just revisit that and go deeper into some of the concepts they were saying, they were mentioning. So
I'm not sure about you, Ruben, but some of the books that were mentioned or some of the things that were talked about, I went back and I read this summer, and we'll talk more about that in the next couple of episodes because I don't want to spoil our future episodes. But I love that. This has been the best PD for me. I mean, I'm sure.
I did too. I did too. I went back and I read a couple of them as well, and I want to pick the brains of a couple of people, and I'm thinking of one person in particular that I want to thank. We'll bring this person on, and maybe you have your own person, but I want to thank because I think about teaching differently. So, let me just say this: if nothing comes out of this podcast, meaning you don't become rich and famous, and I don't become rich and famous, because that's what life is about, right? That whole thing of becoming rich. No, but if nothing else comes out of this podcast, except for that episode and what I got out of it, that's all that matters, because I think about teaching a little bit differently from a particular interview we did, but I got a lot out of several of them that we did. So.
Oh yeah. Do you also get a lot out of like spending time with me because we're brothers and I feel like maybe we're closer? No. All right. I don't know. I enjoy it.
I look at the conversations we had as a net deficit.
Jeez, I enjoy you, Ruben.
I
want
lost
you, all the people out there. Please.
I lost brain cells.
All right. Now we go for it. Too far.
I'm just kidding.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Of course, I got a lot out of it. I learned a lot about what not to do, and I'm just kidding.
No. I hear you. We both learned a lot, and I know you've told me a lot. You really given me a lot of instruction. I want to thank you for that.
Well, we're different people. We're different people, and you know who told us that we're different people and we're not the same people?
Who's that?
And sometimes people who meet the three of us, because we're so close in age, they say the triplets. Well,
right.
We get that more as we were younger.
Sure.
Oh, you guys are the same.
We're the same person.
You look the same. You act the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get. You probably. I don't know what you think of that, but I get frustrated because no, we're not. But it was fun. It was fun. I don't think any of us are, by the way. You could follow that delusion, but I don't think we're. Chris was the good-looking one growing up.
Okay.
Well, no, so were you.
Thank you.
I will give you that. I will give you that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're the good-looking one, according to.
That was the first compliment that you've given me.
A couple of girls.
Thank you, Ruben.
You know the stories I have.
Let's not get into those stories.
Can I share?
No, not today.
I would like to share.
Not today.
Story time.
Not today. This is introduction time. Introduction to the new season.
People about this guy.
We should do that another time. A story time from
part
two.
Have nothing to do with teaching, but growing up.
No, nobody wants to hear that.
When I was playing tetherball, one day,
you're gonna tell a story anyway, right?
These two girls came up to me, and I thought they were like talking to me. I thought they were talking to me, and I was all excited. I remember one of the girls' names. Okay. Her name was Janet.
I hope she's not.
She might have had a last name, but I won't mention it.
But
anyway, we'll talk about it another time. But she wasn't looking for me. I will say that we started later than we normally considered. We thought we would start in sometime in August, but our dad has recently passed, and we would like to dedicate this episode to him. But I was going to ask you, Jake, what would you say? What would you say Dad has influenced you in terms of teaching or otherwise?
Yeah, I would say my dad. I hope I don't get emotional here. We turned a corner here. My dad was my biggest mentor, and I think he mentored all three of us, his sons, without telling us, I'm mentoring you. You know, he's our father. He was our number one mentor. So I think I learned a couple lessons. One is how to mentor. Not that I'm perfect at it. I mean, this year I gravitated to the opportunity to mentor for new teachers. So I feel like that's what my father did. He always went and he gave to new people coming into the system where he worked. He worked for the county. And so that one thing I learned is to give of myself. Like my father was very selfless, as you know, Ruben. And so that is one thing I learned. I always gave my dad a phone call before I changed a job or was thinking about that. He helped me with my resume. My dad was just involved with my teaching. As in the classroom, I'll tell you one thing I learned is to be more of a listener to young people and not to always, talk over them or think I know more than they do, just to give them the respect. And he would always tell me, hey, these kids have a lot to say. And he came to visit my class a few times over the years. And that was fun to have my dad come in and talk. And he loved to give out gift cards and just loved to bless. And he was a giver. He was very generous. And so those are things I learned: to be a generous teacher, to be a listener as a teacher. And of course, outside of class with the new teachers, to be a good mentor and to listen to them and spend time with them and grow. So yeah, that's my dad. How about you, Rup? What did dad do for you in your teaching?
I think that my dad's influence on me was more indirect in terms of teaching. What I mean by that is he never sat me down and said, you should be a teacher, but he was just a person with high standards. And it's funny because in my maybe first half of my life, I thought, man, this guy is really tough on me. He's too tough. He never ever gave me the out, the exit strategy of a situation that was tough for me, whether it was high school or college, where I said, man, the teacher's being too tough on me. He always looked back and asked me, Ruben, what could you do better? And he always raised the standard. So I try to do that as a teacher. I try to encourage students to always be their better selves, always work harder. Because my dad was a good model of that for me. He never missed a day of work, was never late for work, from my understanding. We ended up living with him from high school on. He was always there. So it confirmed what we always kind of knew. Dad never missed work. Dad was always there, and he was always 100%. And so for me, I thought I was going to live that way as a teacher. I never missed a day of work. Well, that's changed the last year or so. But right. I almost never missed a day of work, never was late. But it's just because I wanted to kind of emulate my dad. And that was big. And the other thing was that even though he didn't tell me, hey, Ruben, you could be a teacher, he, whenever he'd call me as a kid, for me, I always lived a life of books. Like, to me, I love to read, and when my dad would call me as a kid, he would say, what's going on? And I would just tell him the books I read, and he would listen. He would listen and listen. And for me, I appreciated that he embraced who I was. I was a reader, and I became pretty strong in that area of English and language arts, and it was natural to become a teacher in that way. So the reason I'm not getting too emotional is because I think, how would my dad react? He doesn't get emotional. I try to program my mind to not do that because my dad wouldn't, but that's just how much I remember Dad. And so thank you, everybody.
Thanks for being patient with us on all this and asking us when we're coming back on. And we've gotten emails and talked to people, and it's been encouraging. And we're back. We're happy to be back. And we're ready to give you some great episodes. And we're going to learn. This is a learning time for us, so we're excited.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Until the next episode. Goodbye.